I will call the meeting to order, our regular meeting of Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Those of you who can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Supervisor Cool.
Here.
Treasurer Roman.
Here.
Clerk Noble here. Trustee Ruggles.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Voorhees.
Present.
Trustee Powell.
Here. Okay. I'm looking for a motion to approve of the agenda, please.
Make a motion to approve the
I
agenda.
have a motion to approve. Looking for support?
Support.
I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. Public comment. You'll have 2 minutes to state your case to the board. If you do, you have to identify yourself for the recorder. Any takers at this time? Seeing none, closing public comment, going on to consent agenda. Consent agenda is a list of bills, expenditures, department reports, and other such day-to-day business of the township. Looking for a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
May I please have 6H removed from the consent agenda? I believe this is where it belongs, but I have a couple items I'd like to share with the board regarding that.
Why don't we go through it and then we can discuss it after?
When you say go through it,
We can, through the consent agenda, you can still have discussion after.
make a motion, you mean, and discuss it as part of the, normally, they don't allow me to discuss anything.
After this, I will allow, after we pass consent agenda, you can have discussion on the item. is
What
I'm
happens if somebody doesn't want to approve that item in a consent agenda because there's new information brought up?
Well, okay, it's
I'll
not
support
mine.
Mike's option. I'll support Mike's.
Not a problem.
Motion.
Okay, remove item 6H from the consent agenda. Looking for a motion to pass as amended.
Motion to approve consent agenda as amended.
Support.
Motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, as it is. Item 8, sanitary sewer deferral.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I wanted to make sure the board understood this, because in the future, I believe that this board will see this item on consent agenda, because it'll be an easily approvable item. But since this is the very first time this has been on the consent agenda, I wanted to make sure that the board understood why this is here and if there are any questions. This particular item is for a modification due to special circumstances in the ability to extend a sanitary sewer down a street that doesn't meet all the requirements of the design construction standards for sanitary sewer. In this particular case, the homeowner at 245 Sarah Drive has a failed septic system. And that septic system, he has a choice. He can either build a new septic system, meeting all the requirements of the health department, which is not only costly, but it's our goal to eliminate septic systems in this community, if we can, or tie into a sanitary sewer. Unfortunately, there's not a sanitary sewer in front of his house to tie into. So the homeowner actually has to go down the street to extend the sewer up to his home. The design standards in White Lake, as every community, then requires that the public sanitary sewer have a manhole at the end of that sanitary sewer. So we're asking the homeowner, per the ordinance, to extend the sanitary sewer and put a manhole just to serve his house. And if the next neighbor does the same thing, now we have a manhole every 100 feet down the street. And that's not the proper design for a sanitary sewer. So in this particular case, we are asking, the homeowners ask for a deviation in the design requirements to allow him to extend the sewer up from down the street as though he was just extending his service lead from his house. So he wants permission to extend the sanitary sewer up to his property and tie into that, but not make it be a public sanitary sewer ending in a manhole. This is the appropriate way it should be done. But I personally did not feel that the DPW director should be responsible for this decision himself. It's a deviation of a township ordinance, and this board should be granting that, not our staff. And so I really felt that Aaron Potter should not carry the blame if something were to go wrong when this board is here to take the responsibility for changing an ordinance. So this is going to be before you, I believe, many more times in the future, and you probably won't need to have this explained to you before, again in the future. But that's why it's here, because I personally, anyway, want to relieve the DPW director from the responsibility of deviating from the township ordinance, and that's why it's before the board.
Can you make a motion, Mike, to approve?
So, Mr. Supervisor, based upon that, I make a motion to approve the sanitary sewer deferral agreement for 245 Sarah as presented.
I have a motion looking for support.
Support.
I have motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. Minutes, 7A, B, C, and D. Approval of minutes of special board meeting of August 10th, August 15th, regular meeting, special board meeting of August 24th, August 29th, special board meeting. We'll ball these into one lump sum package here. Any comments or corrections from the board at this time? Mr. Roman.
Make a motion to approve all of those minutes as our township supervisor has just indicated.
I have a motion to approve minutes, and we have support. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next item, presentation. Chief? Oh, I thought you were back there with the guys. Sorry.
Changed. Sure, with your permission, I'd like to, is it okay if I had the members from my department come up here?
Absolutely.
And support these gentlemen?
Yep.
It's kind of off to my side.
This presentation is great. Sorry, presentation, team building, all those.
Firefighters are never this quiet. I'm actually amazed. You come up here this quiet. So, I don't usually do this. I don't usually write my script and to go through this, but this is important tonight because we're recognizing two members that just completed their probation. So I have something written here because it's important and I don't want to miss anything. We have two firefighters recently completed their one-year probationary period, and we're here tonight to recognize their hard work, dedication to the organization and to the community. When individuals are hired into the career ranks, this is a one-year probationary period. This allows us to get to know them, and it ensures that they're a good fit to the organization. And it's an evaluation process for us. We're going to capitalize on their strengths, and we're going to help them improve their weaknesses through this time. And we measure how well they adapt to given scenarios, and that they exhibit self-confidence in a non-arrogant manner. And I'm proud to say, in 1 year's time, these two firefighters have fulfilled our probationary expectations. They've earned the right to be pinned and recognized as firefighters with White Lake Township. The badge and oath symbolizes their willingness to uphold the best interests of the community and the organization. First member we want to recognize is it okay if I stand here? Can you guys hear me? Come on up here, Brent.
Yeah.
Is Brent Ludwig. Brent came to us in 2022 after serving 23 years with the Oxford Fire Department. He also, in 2004 and 5, worked for the Department of Defense in Iraq as a firefighter. I always say, hey, their loss is our gain. I'm glad to have him, and here to support Brent tonight is his wife, Lisa, and she's going to be pinning him. You're gonna swear to your oath first, and then I'll let your wife pin you. Come on up.
Raise your right hand and state after me. Repeat your name. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I, Brent Ludwig, do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of office of firefighter
and I will faithfully perform the duties of office of firefighter
for the Township of White Lake
for the Township of White Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
and State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This takes a little bit. Right, these little spots right there, you just pull the shirt out. Right here. This is always the task, right? Every time.
It's all right if you poke them a little.
Just jab it in there.
Go and shake the hit all the board members. Ladies and gentlemen, firefighter Brent Ludwig.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Brad, excellent.
Here you go, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you for all that support. Yay. Next firefighter we're going to recognize is Brendan Hannafin. Brendan also came to us in 2022. Prior to our department, he served with the Springfield and Groveland Township Fire Department. Again, their loss was our gain. He's here to celebrate with Brendan tonight is his father, who also happens to be our fire marshal, Jason Hannafin, and his mother, Valerie. Come on up. Jason.
State your name and raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of firefighter for the Township of White Lake County of Oakland, and State of Michigan,
County of Oakland, State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to state law. So help me God.
Too long on the
Just push till you see red.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Forget his name.
Congratulations, we're glad to have you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good job.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chief.
Support for this. We appreciate it.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Okay. Thanks, Chief.
I want to know.
No, I don't want to know either.
I think that air's off. I tried turning it off. Good job, John. Shut it off.
Give it a second here. Those are some of the fun things of this job, so. We have a couple other proclamations we'd like to do this evening, and two of them are very important, and they oftentimes affect our police and fire groups because they deal with some of these issues head-on. So the National Recovery Month is September, and that is for persons who may have some sort of difficulty or an addiction that they maybe need a little help to get through. So this township takes this very seriously, And one of the programs that we have is the handcuffs program. The chief's going to talk about real quickly.
Yeah, we talked about last being Hope Not Handcuffs. We have several programs that we use to help with the people who are in need. One is Hope Not Handcuffs, where they can come to the station and we can get them the help they need. Also, we work with Common Ground to, when officers go on the road, they see individuals who are in need of help and they want to get help. We have avenues with Common Ground that we can get them the help that they need.
And that's really important. And Chief, what is the number, if there's someone that wants to call for information, what is the best number for
Absolutely.
them?
You can call the White Lake Township Police Department at 248-698-4400.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and it's in my paperwork here, so I'm going to say, and now therefore be it resolved, the White Lake Township hereby recognizes September 23rd as September of 2023 as National Suicide Prevention Month. White Lake calls upon our citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our state to increased awareness and understanding of suicide prevention and the need for appropriate and accessible service to assist individuals in crisis. So this would be one of the things that we would do here along with our addiction. And I got them mixed up, and I beg your pardon for that. So, but we're going to do that one, and we'll do this one. National Recovery is the proclamation for now as therefore be resolved that White Lake Township here recognized as September 23rd, 2023. I can't get that date out of my head for some reason. It's National Recovery Month, and White Lake calls upon our citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our state to increased awareness and support of substance abuse rectification and understanding. So these are very important programs. The National Recovery, you can call the police department to get information. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 988, and that will get you to someone who will be happy to assist you and try to steer you in the right direction. Or if you know of a loved one that may be having some difficulties with either one of those items, move them in the right direction. Okay, moving right along. Public hearing with resolution. Public hearing 9A to hear public comment on the confirmation of the special assessment role for the Special Assessment District for Lake Neva.
Are we gonna vote on the?
We don't vote on proclamations.
Oh, no?
No, we don't vote on proclamations. Public hearing to commit on the confirmation of the special assessment role of the Special Assessment District for Lake Neva, West Canals, weed control, and lake improvement for the years of 2023 through 2027. Mr. Hebert, anything to add?
No.
Okay, we're going to go to a public hearing at that. I make a motion to open the public hearing for the Special Assessment District for Lake Neva, West Canals Control, and Lake Improvement for the years of 2023 through 2027. I'll make that in the form of a motion. Looking for support? I have motion and support. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Coe.
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
We are now in public hearing. Anyone who cares to comment on the District for Lake Neva West Canals weed control at this time, you'll need to come up to the microphone and identify yourself for the recorder. Seeing none, we will close public hearing. I make a motion to close public hearing. Look for support.
Support.
I have motion and support. All in favor? Aye. Public hearing is closed. Item 9B, Resolution 23-031, confirming a special assessment role for the Special Assessment District designated Lake Neva West Canals weed control and lake improvement years 2023 through 2027. May I entertain a motion from the board? Mr. Roman.
Motion to approve Resolution 23-031 to approve the special assessment role for the district designated.
We have a motion. Looking for support? I have motion and support by Mr. Ruggles. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Excuse me.
I was doing the same thing earlier. Item 9C, Public hearing to hear the public comment on the confirmation of the special assessment role for the Special Assessment District designated emergency sewer connections 2023-02. I'll make that in the form of a motion to open public hearing. Looking for support.
Support.
I have motion and support. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Kowa,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
We are now in public hearing. Anyone who cares to comment on the public, for the public hearing for a special assessment role for the Special Assessment District designated emergency sewer connections 2023-02. At this time, 3 minutes to come up to the podium and state your case.
Mr. Supervisor, since we have so many
Public
guests,
comment.
would you please explain
I will.
what we're asking? Oh, you,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll
because you
get to
didn't
that.
ask.
Yeah,
So
I will.
I just wanted to make sure you did.
I will.
Okay.
Well, the last one was not quite like this one.
Okay.
So, any comment at this time? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
I have motion and support from Trustee Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
We are now out of public hearing, of which only the public is supposed to speak. Okay. The purpose of the public hearing and for this particular item is that it has become a very important item in this township to try to get persons on our public sewer system. You all live in a lake-rich area. You live in a groundwater protection area. Whether you drink water from the school, which you will soon, or you drink water at home or at a restaurant locally, wherever it is, it may be municipal water, but it comes from our municipal wells. So all water consumed in White Lake Township is groundwater sourced. So it's very important for us to try to get as many residents as we can, in particular the ones that are on the lakes area that some of them have marginal soils, try to get them hooked up. So this township board several years ago came up with a program which was emergency hookup that tries to assist persons to get hooked up to the system so it's better and safer for the environment all the way around. So that's what that particular item was about. Other special assessments, as you'll see for the students here, are for things like weed control and things of this nature. They're a myriad. It could be for a paved street. It could be for a major sewer improvement project. Could be for a water project. Could be for a number of things, even road gravel. So that's a process that we use here, and this particular item is one that benefits the individual who owns the home, because with a septic field, they're only able to use and utilize the property that they have to the percentage that they can use it. Once they're attached to sewer, now all of a sudden if they have the property, they could potentially add another bedroom, or they could do an addition to their house and increase the value of their home and the comfort of their home. So there's lots of benefits to doing it. So that's what's important there. So where were we? Okay.
The motion.
Thank you. We need a motion.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yes.
I move approval of Resolution 23-032 to confirm the special assessment role for the Special Assessment District designated as the emergency sewer connection.
I have a motion for the resolution 23-032 to confirm. Looking for support.
Support.
I have support from Mr. Noble, I believe. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 10, new business, resolution 23-033 to approve an extension to part of a commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate, Four Corners Square LLC certificate C2016-015A, Mr. Al Kafaji, and his son, Amir Howie. And this is going to be addressed by Mr. Roman. Mr. Roman?
Thanks, Rick. So, to my board, back in the fall of 2016, this board approved a Public Act 210 district for the Four Corners project at the corner of Cooley Lake Road and Union Lake Road. And it paved the way for the 7-year tax abatement that we approved for the years 2017 through 2023. As the project ran into supply chain and construction challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it also ran into utility issues due to the gasoline and chlorinated hydrocarbon plumes in the water aquifers, as the level of contamination was really greater than anyone thought, and other issues. The apartment project is only benefiting from the tax abatement for 3 of the 7 years that we intended it to help out with. The Four Corners management team is requesting that we extend the abatement on the complex from 7 years to the maximum allowable 10-year period. So as the abatement expires after this tax season, an extension would allow the abatement to run through the 2026 tax season. As far as dollars are concerned, the delays in completing the project cost Four Corners over $130,000 in property taxes that they paid on buildings that were torn down. The delays will also cost Four Corners approximately $400,000 in lost abatements from years 2018 through 2021. By extending the abatement out 3 more years through 2026, we can effectively allow the Four Corners project to recoup some of those dollars. Just want to remind the board that Mr. El-Kafaji came forward and took a piece of property really that was an eyesore and turned it into what I would consider to be a first-class development. And remember, he went into this knowing there was groundwater contamination. He never knew how bad it would be, and it was worse than expected, which contributed to his delays. Although COVID affected all of our businesses, I think there's a lasting idea that common halls in an apartment complex are not as desirable as they used to be. So many people now from COVID and what we all saw with it want private entrances. I think in hindsight, if we could have foreseen some of the issues that they would have run into, we would have tried to somehow shift this abatement forward so that he'd get the 7-year benefit that we wanted him to get in the first place. He didn't get it in the way that the PA 210 is structured. He actually had to pay property taxes on buildings that were torn down. So I open this up to everyone for questions, concerns.
Yeah, we went through a real odd time there, all of us did, and the intent for the actions of this board initially was for him to be able to utilize that period of time, but unfortunately there was a number of setbacks. Yeah, if you have something you want to hand out, yeah, there was a number of setbacks that caused a variety of problems, COVID being the main one.
Did we get our first
So
certificate of occupancy?
he hasn't really been able to utilize the actual recovery that was planned out. And Mike spent some time looking at this as being our treasurer, felt that he was best qualified to look at this from a numbers standpoint
Our approval that we given our.
and has brought this forth.
So I'll start, if I may. I might have more questions as we go.
Trustee Smith?
I just want to remind my colleagues that our intentions in 2016 were very clear to not come back for an extension. We were hesitant to even give the extension in 2016, or to give the abatement in 2016, and we were extremely clear to this property owner that it would not be extended. So I would like to ask my fellow board members to hold true to their word and not move forward with an extension.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions also. Love the marketing, I've toured. White Lake's luxurious apartments. I had a resident reach out to me, because trust me, I have huge memories of that corner. It's great now, but that's our gateway. But one of the residents said to me was, the siding is falling off, you have cracked sidewalks, you have dead landscaping, warped trellises on the roof. They thought it was an embarrassment to White Lake as the gateway. They said, and this was my comment, was, does this look like luxury? I'm not against making some adjustments, but I'm kind of against doing an additional 3.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Powell?
I'm just wondering, if this board were to delay this until maybe we see some action going on and some improvements on the site, what is the drop dead time to be able to, does this have to be consecutive, or can the 3 years be put off for 6 months?
That would be a
It's Mr.
question for
Heber.
Mr.
Yeah,
Heber, I think. And I don't know how many of these you've done either, Jay,
well-
but I don't have the answer.
Well, the approval process will have to be, you have to go through the State Tax Commission. They have a deadline of, I believe it's October 31st so they can get something on their agenda to make certain that it is extended for the following year. So while there have been some cases where they have been able to do something past that, it's not guaranteed. But I'm 95% certain it's October 31 would be the absolute deadline in the statute.
And if we missed that deadline, you're saying it cannot be then instituted?
That's correct. That's my interpretation of it.
I have a personal problem in that we have used COVID and bad economic times for giving this project a great deal of consideration. We have changed the architecture of the building. We've changed the materials on the building. We've changed the construction time frame of the building. And quite frankly, this board voted to not hold him to the requirements of a nice sit-down restaurant overlooking the lake. We've given in every time that he's come here. This board has said, okay, we feel sorry for you. And quite frankly, I don't believe that he has lived up to what this board had intended when this project first started. And therefore, I will be voting no on this.
Well, see, I beg to differ with you, Mr. Powell. That corner was an atrocious spot, not only economically, environmentally, socially, everything of the sort. And he took it upon himself to invest in this community and better that entire end of the township. There's not a single person that I don't talk to that says it's better than it was, okay?
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
I disagree with you.
Well, you may, I haven't heard from him. Have him call me.
I will have him call you.
So
We'll send
the,
residents your way that we hear from.
so nonetheless, it was a huge improvement and a huge endeavor. And indeed, there was a problem with COVID. There was a lot of problems. There were a lot of companies that went out of business, okay? And as when we have had economic hits from time to time and people have lost property or whatever the case may be that happens. It was an unforeseen, and we planned this when we passed this originally prior to the construction and prior to knowing all this stuff, and then it hit. And to Mr. Roman's point, you know, there was a period of time there, it was almost like a limbo period because the building couldn't go forward because the governor shut things down. There was a period of time that he had to pay taxes on torn down buildings because we had environmental issues that went beyond what the original scope was. I even went forward and was able to receive assistance through the MEDC to try to offset some of those costs because the monies were available and it was a program that was out there. As the PA 210 is a tool in the box for White Lake Township and other communities so it can kind of utilize to help with distressed areas like this. So I'm kind of befuddled that we can't see the value that it's added to this community. And at the end of the day, 3 years for us is not going to make a huge difference to us from an economic standpoint, but it may help him right his ship a little bit. And he's had another, as far as the restaurant goes, there was never a guarantee in blood sit-down restaurant. It was, I'd like to have a sit-down restaurant. And again, the market changed. What happened? All the restaurants closed up. You couldn't even get a cup of coffee. So you had a lot of issues. So there is legitimate items that happened along the way and dominoes that set up a certain effect that brings us to where we are today. And I think this does not send a good signal to anyone who wants to come to White Lake Township that they believe that we will not assist them in a business venture that makes a definitive improvement to our community from an economic standpoint, social standpoint, and definitely cleaned up an area of the township that was in dire straits. And Mr. O'Neill, at the risk of repeating himself, will tell you that in his whole career, there were people that wouldn't even look at that. They wouldn't pop the lid on that can because they knew there was so many problems. And it takes a certain individual with gumption. And I think when we have people that do that and take on a problem child in our community, we should try to work with them to within the limits of what we're able to do.
Rick,
So,
I
if
may,
you
real
allow
quick,
me,
Anthony. One second, Tucker.
Mr. Cavaggi.
I understood what Liz said about the 7 years, and she's right on. When we gave the abatement originally, we said it would only be a 7-year abatement. That's it. Don't ever come back and ask for more. But keep in mind, at the time, we had no idea that the benefit for that project was going to lose 4 of the 7 years. That's what it did. It lost 4 of the 7 years. If it hadn't, I wouldn't support the idea either. But he's only getting 3 years out of a 7-year benefit. So that's all I had to say, Rick.
our,
1 second. I want the board to finish. Go ahead.
And I grew up in the area adjacent, not too far, and as you look at the pictures that Treasurer Roman put on, it was dilapidated. I talked to multiple developers when I was on Planning Commission. They thought, he took a big risk. COVID hit. We had a fire that the building almost got caught on fire at one point. Thanks to the chief's program and routine patrols, we were able to stop that. It was one thing after another. Also, you're going to see coming up in the next 18 months, commercial loans being called out like nobody's business. And we've talked about that, Trustee Powell. You're going to see, commercial loan gets called up every 5 years, which means right now they're doubling it. I don't want to see somebody walk away from it. I mean, he took a big chance. We are pro-business. We claim to be pro-business in this township. We've got a dilapidated building that Supervisor Colwell and I talk about every day, which is the Wendy's, Tim Hortons. That's going to be tore down. Who's going to want to come here if we're not going to work with people? And there is exigent circumstances on this. And, when we voted last, there was three fours and threes against, and our treasurer came back at us. So right there, it speaks volumes. If he wasn't for it, I wouldn't have brought this back on the board. But I take my hat off to a guy that's willing to put his neck out. And I'm for the businessman. I'm going to say it right here and helping him out. We're not out much money. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Ruggles.
Well, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with a couple of you guys. We've seen this request a number of times, and I'm going to echo everything that Mr. Powell said, and I want the recorder to make sure that she gets that down, because in particular, this individual has received a no vote from this board before. Maybe we didn't do a good enough job of explaining ourselves. So I want to make sure that I explain myself when I say this vote so that it's going to be done and it won't come back to us. We've seen it a number of times. You were told this is not going to pass if you come back and ask for it again. And the restaurant, I'm still pissed about the restaurant, but that has nothing to do with tonight. But that's my feelings.
Is there any way we could meet in the middle and put some stipulations and like maybe put it off to the October date with like some of the improvements that I mentioned to make it more of a luxurious apartment complex?
Well, the product is the product that it is, okay? And it is nice. He's had some issues there that he's worked on. He had some wind damage. You remedied that. He's been
It's been a
constantly.
week or so since I've driven by.
I beg your pardon?
I've driven by, but it's been a couple weeks.
And they had some current utility work, so if you see some topsoil turned over, that's because
No, it was,
that was some current
dead
utility
landscaping
work.
is what I was told.
That's what the landscaping and the utility work in that area was just done. They had to replace a valve. So that was something was done in the last week or so. So I'm sure that it'll be remedied as the rest of the building looks good. So I don't know what areas you're talking about.
Yeah, the resident said, like I said, siding, the sidewalks,
so
the
the
siding
sidewalks,
off the building, sorry, I couldn't read my own handwriting. The cracked sidewalks, the dead landscape, which you talked about, the warped trellises on the roof.
can I address the sidewalks? Okay, so the sidewalk, we've been waiting for a chemically treated gasket for the water line. And that has been on order for about 6 months. We just got it last Friday, and they installed it last Saturday, on September 9th. It was installed. That was where the sidewalk was cracked. This morning, they took all the sidewalks out and they poured the new ones after the gasket was installed. And Aaron Potter, thanks to him, he was there on Saturday, and DLZ, both of them, they came out Saturday. We installed it and it's done. So now they finished the sidewalk this morning. The landscaping are going in immediately. And this is the issue that we've been having, all along. We started with this project with a budget of $13.7 million. In 2019, because of all the contamination and special gasket, and we grew to 19. We ended up after 2020 to $21.7 million on this project. So this has been an escalating and snowballing cost problem for us and delays. Our first CFO was June of 2020, and that's when COVID hit as well at the same time. We had one building, the first CFO, we got it on Building B on June 20th, June 2020, when people did not want to even live in an apartment with closed corridors. So we've been hit, with double whammies. I wish that at the time we knew, we would have asked the board to give us 7 years from the day we get our CFO, not from the day we put a shovel in the ground. Because we, as Mr. Roman said, we lost 4 years. We were paying taxes, but we were not getting anything. And we bent backward to support this project and make it as viable to us and to the township. We wanted to make it a win-win situation for everybody. Thank you.
Pro-business, one last comment, but if we were not to give you this abatement tonight, would you put the building up for sale?
I can't hear very well, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
if we were to not give you this abatement tonight, would you put the building up for sale? That was the other thing the resident said to me, I just forgot. That they can see you potentially putting it for sale if you don't.
I'm not
Okay.
hearing well, I apologize, I'll have my son.
You're good.
If you don't get the tax abatement, will you put the building up for sale?
No, I cannot even put it up for sale. We are already having, I think I shared some private issues with Mr. Roman and with Mr. Kowal about our bank and the situation with the bank. I don't want to make it public right here.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
So I'll circle back around. I started with a no, and I'm still a no. We are pro-business, and we've given this property several chances, and they've really pushed the limits and stretched us every time out of what we were comfortable in doing so, and we gave in to try to make this a viable project, and we did so as a pro-business board. Now he's saying that, I'm not sure, Andrew, your idea is good, but I'm not sure we have any authority, and I'd have to go ask Mr. Heber. If we can put conditions when he's asking for an abatement due to COVID, he's not asking for an abatement due to he can't afford disrepair. So I'm not sure about even though your idea is on track, I'm not sure we could mix it with the tax abatement. I'm just gonna finish up that I'm still a no.
Mr. Heber, can you answer that?
Well, as I see it, you really can't mix the two together from a valuation standpoint of how the property is. It's either it falls under 210 or it doesn't. And you do have till October 31st, and it says the commission shall take action on it before December 31st. It does go on to say anything received after November, they may consider it upon staff availability. So in my mind, December 31st is your drop dead date to.
What's the date again?
I'm sorry, October 31st. I misspoke. I'm bad. Thank you. October 31st is the drop dead date to approve this. And as far as, to answer your question, as far as middle ground goes, the only middle ground that I could possibly see sitting here would be something less than the 3-year extension, maybe at 2 or 1 years. It doesn't have to, that would be the only way. It's really not tied into the valuation process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heber. Okay, any questions or comments from the board this time? Mr.
I know that a recent bond was put down, wasn't it, Director O'Neill? For those.
There's a
last
punch
punch
list.
list?
Yes, there's a punch list completion bond for a few outstanding items.
What are those?
I think some of them are the sidewalks, replacing the gasket that Mr. Alkafaji mentioned. I don't have the list in front of me. It totals $10,000 or $11,000.
We're concurrent on that bond, right?
It is on deposit, so there is a guarantee for the completion of those items.
So is that what you were looking for, trustee Voorhees? Is those to get
Yes and
repaired?
no.
For those to get repaired?
Yeah, because I mean, they say luxurious apartments, but you drive by and all these challenges are going on.
Possible to get those fixed
Of course. Of
before
course.
the 31st?
We already took care of all the sidewalks this morning. That was done this morning. And last Saturday, as I said, we installed, they dug a big hole in the ground and installed that gasket, chemically treated gasket for the water line because of the contamination. So we did the sidewalks today. Landscaping is going in next week.
Any questions? Mr. Roman?
Well, I'm not quite sure we have support,
Yeah.
for the extension, Mr. Supervisor, so,
Can we find a middle ground?
Well, we can put it to a vote because we
What-
have
what are
to
you
vote on
thinking,
this
Andrea?
resolution.
Well, this resolution can be altered. We can change the 3 years to 2 years or 1 year. I would vote for 2 years. Mr. Roman was very poignant when, the last time around. And I think he has looked at things and analyzed things. And when it comes to the numbers, I would bet my numbers on Mike.
well, I was against the idea of extending it as well until I really drilled into it. And I not only realized that he's losing 4 years on the abatement, but when I went back and analyzed it, the crazy part is he had to pay property taxes on buildings that weren't even there. So that's just nuts, but that's the way that PA 210 is structured. It's crazy.
Could we table this to our next meeting?
It'll be a little bit late.
Because it's got to be done by October 31st, correct?
Yeah, well, it would be the October meeting, and I don't know, David, is that adequate time for that process?
I have, I've been trying to get a hold of someone at the State Tax Commission to find out the process relative to an application for an extension. It's pretty clear as far as a new application, or a new PA 210 goes. And I have not been responded to yet. So I believe it could be something as simple as putting a cover letter together with the resolution to at least meet the deadline. If they wanted a further application, I don't believe that, as long as you were permitted to approve the application along with the resolution, obviously we would make every effort to make that deadline in the assessing department. But again, they go on to say they might review them if staff time permits too. So I really don't understand that.
Right. Mr. Roman?
Well, this is just an idea. I would rather address it today if at all possible. And Ms. Voorhees, if you have conditions that you want met, okay, by a certain date,
Yeah, absolutely.
we could make the motion to extend this contingent upon certain repairs being made as of a certain date. I don't see why that couldn't go into a motion.
Because our assessor told us that we can't mix those two.
But the valuation of it, I understood, is there a middle ground relative to assisting from a
Makes him
valuation?
to make repairs of his punch list with this tax abatement. We can't.
He's not. He's
We're
already,
asking for the same conditions to be attached.
no, you're confusing the two issues. His punch list is already bonded out.
Right.
And most of it's already done. It's done. Okay, so it's just a matter now, the difference of what needs to be done and what specific items or the few maintenance items around there that may need to be addressed. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Andrea.
No, seriously, that's what the resident told me. Like, I haven't been able to drive by.
But have you seen it?
No, I don't
Then
drive that way
you're
every
basing
day.
it on hearsay, okay?
But this is more recently too.
Well, we have the punch list.
I've seen
right?
it. I mean, I think
Director
we've all
O'Neill?
seen it. So I have one question.
Are we
One-
looking
one
at-
second,
Are we
Trustee
looking at the
Smith.
punch list?
Some of the items are on the punch list you mentioned, some are not on the punch list, so
Out of
know.
memory, can you tell us which ones?
the sidewalk and the gasket are on the punch list. She mentioned roof trellises and siding, that is not on the punch list. And I don't have the punch list in front of me, but there are only, I want to say there were maybe 4 or 5 items, and
Four items.
I think they've done 2 of them. If they've
2 of them were
replaced the gasket and they've done the sidewalk, and I wasn't out there today, but that leaves on the punch list side of things, just 2 items.
And the 2 items, we have a bond already posted with the town.
That's correct.
It's all right.
That was,
It's all right.
So I guess the question, can you do that, Dave? Mr. Hebert?
What, the question as far as,
What they were recommending?
yeah, when I heard middle ground, I thought there was middle ground relative to, reduction in value to adjust taxes. So this wouldn't do anything,
middle ground
contingent
regards,
on,
like maybe instead of doing 3, do 2, or do the 1. That's where I guess where my middle ground was, or do 2 years with getting rid of Sean's punch list, stuff like that. Because I would entertain 2 years with the punch list done.
Okay, can I, if I may?
Please do.
Shocker, the issues were siding, cracked sidewalks, dead landscaping, warped trellises on the roof. Do you know what that means?
I have never heard about the trellises, there's a problem with
Trellises
it.
on the roof?
Yeah, that's what they said, that there was the trellises on the top, the roof were warped. And I questioned that too. Because I didn't see that when I drove by it like 2 weeks ago, so.
Okay, so,
I mean, we can post a bond for those if you like us to.
well, what do you
One
guys
more
think?
question for
2 years?
Dave before we move forward. Can you remind us of the date that their abatement is up for their other property that was intended to be a restaurant and it's an AT&T?
the corner piece that has the AT&T as the tenant, that was extended to the 26th as well. This, if approved, would match that. The Taco Bell site and the shopping center where the Tim Hortons, those expire this year. So those will go on the ad valorem roll for this year and pay full property taxes on those 2
Not
parcels.
asking for the extension on those.
No, I'm just curious if they coincide at all, and also it just kind of goes to my argument that we have been more than accommodating and extended every aspect of his property with an abatement.
Mr. Romer.
Well, I'm going to throw a motion out there that we extend the abatement for 2 years, subject to his punch list being completed on or before a month from today,
30 days?
30 days. I need
Yeah, I'm
support.
good.
I'll
support
it.
that. I'll
Go
support
ahead,
that.
Andrea.
Andrea will support it. So it's going to be a 2-year extension
2 year.
for Resolution 23-033 with conditions of punch list items.
List completion within 30 days.
Correction of items be done by the 19th of October. Did you get that, Hannah? That was your motion, supported by Andrea, correct?
Yes.
Roll call vote, Mr. Supervisor.
Roll call vote?
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Voorhees?
Yes.
Trustee Powell?
No.
Trustee Smith?
No?
Trustee Ruggles?
No.
Treasurer Roman?
Yes.
Supervisor Colwell?
Yes. You got 2 years.
Thank you.
You've got 30 days to get all those little quirky-doos done. If it's not,
Sure.
you don't get the 2 years.
Thank
Okay?
you.
All right, okay. And get together with Mr. O'Neill to go through it, and Nick Spencer, a building official, if there's anything that he needs to talk to. That's of record, Hannah?
Coming out.
Okay, that's on record, okay? All right, thank you. Okay, next item. Request by fire department to purchase structural firefighting gear. structural firefighting gear, okay?
You like that term?
I like that term. That's good.
I
I read that. My wife was looking at it. She goes, what's the difference between regular firefighting gear? I said,
We usually call it turnout gear. I said, if I say that, everybody's gonna say, what is turnout gear? So I said, structural firefighting gear. That was creative. You gotta admit that, right?
it worked.
All right. So, hi again, board members. What you have before you is a request to purchase 6 sets of firefighting gear out of the 2024 budget. Just so you understand, our gear is on a 10-year rotation, a 10-year schedule, and we follow NFPA recommendations, so it is repaired or replaced at 10 years. That's everything. That's the helmet, gloves, hoods, bunker coat, and pants, and boots, or sooner if needed, if they're in disrepair or they're damaged. And once they're taken out of service, they are retired. We no longer are going to donate gear to departments. We use other departments. We don't do that anymore because we take on way too much liability. If we're following a standard that says for us to retire that gear, it's really a little unethical for us to give it to another department to go ahead and turn around and have them use it. So when it's retired, it's retired. And so at this point, every firefighter is issued 2 sets of gear. And the reason for that is it's contaminated. We go on a fire, the gear becomes contaminated. It's either with byproducts of a fire or it can be bodily fluids. It has to be cleaned. While it's being cleaned and decontaminated, the guys have to be re-outfitted with gear. So so some of this is a second set of gear for guys. We've gotten actual 4 bids on this, and not all gear is the same. All this gear has to meet a certain standard when you sell it. But it'd be no different than a ballistic vest. I'm sure there's some vests, they're better than the other. This one provides, it meets the minimum standard, but exceeds the minimum standard with some respect too. If you have any technical questions, firefighter Sudasiri, he did all the research on this. He handles our gear, he inventories our gear. So he's kind of our subject matter expert when it comes to turnout gear, if you happen to have a question.
I don't particularly have a question. I've been to the station, I've been to Citizens Academy, and I've donned gear and gotten into cars and hoses and places that I probably shouldn't have got into because I felt it the next day. But nonetheless, any of the board members have any questions?
Not really a question, but I completely support it. I've seen other fire departments recently with their newer gear, and it's lighter, it's nicer for, for our firefighters to wear. And your safety is extremely important in order for you to serve our residents, so I'm for it, of course.
I agree, and just understand that through this research, this gear we're gonna purchase we stay consistent with the gear we currently have. And it actually it has that extra particulate. Biggest thing with firefighters is cancer. Everything that burns pretty much, it carries carcinogens. So it's that added protection and Joe did a great job doing the research on it. Spent a lot of time on it.
Okay, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, so the other 2 suppliers, their equipment's not as good or it doesn't match up with our current equipment?
I'll let Joe answer that. You want to step up here a little,
Yeah,
Joe?
sure. So all the gear construction has evolved greatly in the last 10 years. And what Chief spoke about, the particulate blocking, is for the cancer particles that seep in through your gear and in through your skin. So cancer is very prominent now in the fire service. Everybody's heard that memo. The other manufacturers have similar products. There's many manufacturers of what makes the Stead Air particulate blocker versus the DuPont Nanotex, which what we use, different slightly. Most of them are fairly comparable. The Globe gear that we have spec'd out is the best that they get in our spec. It's not the best gear they make, but it's the best gear that's for our spec and what we're looking for protection and then the blocking agents.
All right, because the price between what you're asking for and the lower price is about $2,500 less. But certainly, I'm not going to question, and I'm in full support as well, but I needed to understand the justification of going 3 steps higher in cost than the low price. So.
6 at 46.
Can I make a?
Yes.
Can I make a motion?
You have any other comments?
I just have one quick, and I just now noticed this. The fire department is requesting to purchase 5 parentheses, 6 sets. Is it 5 or is it 6?
Typo, 6, sorry.
No, you're good, trust me.
Sets.
Okay.
No, I'm in full support also, but I just literally just noticed that, so thank you.
Okay.
Initially, it was 5, and then we discovered another guy needed an additional
You're good.
set of gear, so we changed it real quick to 6, and obviously that got missed.
All right.
There are two sets of gear though, you have
The math doesn't
two
work
sets,
out.
right, for going in and going out?
One in,
Yeah, okay.
one dirty, one clean, basically.
Basically, that's it.
Mr. Ruggles?
Okay, Chief, I'd like to make a motion. Request to purchase structural firefighting gear, 6 sets of gear supplied by McQueen Equipment for a total expenditure of $27,878.58.
Support.
I have motion, I have support.
It's correct.
Comment.
Oh, go ahead.
We just wanted to make sure the math was right.
It's correct.
That's good.
Yeah.
$2.
Motion,
You see that
support.
typo and you were challenging me.
Oh my God, it's calculator out.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Support trustee Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you.
you,
First, also, thank you. Thanks, Joe. First reading amendment to Chapter 18, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances, Fire Prevention Protection, Section 110, unsafe buildings. This is something that Chief and I talked about as a result of some of the structures that have burnt in the community, and it just seemed to take forever for people to take any kind of action on them. So Chief got out his book and started putting his nose in it, and this is what he came up with.
Yeah, this started, we had a rental property committee discussion, and this kind of came up. And started this discussion and it really kind of piqued my interest. So I don't think the supervisor thought after that meeting, I went back that day and just authored a change to the fire code so we can do this. This gives us an option really to provide enforcement where it's really necessary and appropriate, but it also gives us the option for surveillance. It requires that property owner to check in with the building department after 90 days. We want to see they're making progress. There's something happening. It's not sitting idle. Because you guys, and board, you understand, this is a nuisance to the neighbors when you have a burned out structure, and it's also, there's inherent dangers with it. So I think this is really appropriate that we put this in place.
Yeah, Chief, I'm really glad that you did, and I want to commend you on that, and I appreciate, you continually working with our group that we have on the rental ordinances, and these are little things that we look at, and not to try to cause anybody aggravation, but this board had a structure just down the street here that was, 5 years, 6 years? And we gave every chance in the world, and we ended up having to tear it down. So this will eliminate this problem.
Yes.
And give
That's the intent.
the township a tool in the box, and Nick is in full support of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great move. Any questions, comments, Mr.?
Supervisor, has our attorney taken a look at this amendment?
Yes, after I wrote it, I sent it to Lisa. That's why the font, I don't know what your font looks, that's why there's so many different colors, different authors. So this has been through Lisa.
Because the reason I'm asking is it defines an unsafe building, but really you can't define it by ordinance. It has to be looked at, determined, and the dangerous building hearing officer is the one that determines that. Our building department isn't even qualified to determine that. And so there's no professional at all involved in determining this. We're just, because there was a fire, we're defining it as an unsafe building. And I'm not sure we can do that.
Just give me 1 second. I'm going to read this real fast.
Sure.
So I can catch myself up to your question.
Lisa did
I think
review
the
it.
intent here is, I know my intent. I know what my intent was. My intent was if we have a structure that cannot be inhabited by a human being due to the damage, or we have any structural integrity that would be questioned, to me, that's a dangerous building. If you can't live there, there's inherent health dangers. If you can't live there because there's structural elements that have been compromised from the fire, that you can't safely occupy it, to me, it's a dangerous building. I understand, to your point, what you're saying. Do you have a suggestion what you would like, or?
No, because I think the intent is perfect. We've had too many structures just sitting around half burnt. The question is, who's going to define it as unhabitable?
Building official.
The building official. So whether it's structurally unsafe or health department or whatever, if they are not allowed to live there, that's what prompts the time clock for this 90 days.
Absolutely.
Okay?
That's the intent, yes.
And if that's, I'm
Maybe we
great with
just
that then.
need to add that if it's uninhabitable. So the intent
It's
is
in there.
really, where is it?
Yeah, it's in there.
I just tried to read it as well, so I didn't see it.
It's in there.
And the only reason that I'm backing down a little bit is because the building department has it in his discretion per the building code to ask for an expert's opinion to be able to go out and define that.
It's a
And
tool, it's
so
a
I'm-
tool in the box. that we
And I
need.
like it then.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? It's in there.
Okay, I don't see it. I'm reading it.
It's in, I'm sorry, first paragraph, right towards,
At the end.
like the third line down.
Yep, it's there.
Reading, structure is.
As determined by the building.
Oh,
code.
structure is uncertain. Okay, it doesn't say uninhabitable.
There's,
Not
when there's
be safely
uncertainty.
Should be.
occupied.
Not safely occupied. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and so the building department has it in his box to ask
Yeah.
experts. So Mr. Supervisor, I move approval of the first reading. I move
Move to second reading.
chapter, let's see,
18.
18
Article
for
2.
unsafe buildings to second reading.
I'll support that. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving along. Okay, thanks, Chief.
Thank you,
Good work,
Chief.
thanks, appreciate it. Chief Keller, request to approve police department administrative vehicle purchase not to exceed amount.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. As in the memo to the board and to you, Mr. Supervisor, we have a 2015 Chevy Impala in the fleet that's got 125,000 miles on it.
Can we get you to go to the,
Absolutely.
thank
I
you.
drove that car.
He
It
has a
was
mic in
terrible.
front of him.
I know, but presentation is better, sorry.
Dan, that car was bad when I gave it to you.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, so as you know, we have a 2015 Chevy Impala with 125,000 miles on it, and it is on its last leg. We try to use our vehicles as much as we can, but we need a new vehicle. And the problem with getting a new vehicle, as you guys know, is that there are no fleet vehicles out there. They don't make them anymore because the economy doesn't warrant it. They can sell vehicles at a higher price that have a little more gadgets and a little more things to them. And so the fleet vehicle is pretty much non-existent. And now that the strike is looming upon us and we don't know when it's going to end, we need to get a vehicle as soon as possible. So I'm requesting to allow me to purchase a vehicle that's up to $35,000. It's going to meet the same standards as the other vehicles we have. It's going to have four-wheel drive. It's going to be an SUV. And it's going to be, the size is going to have to be a certain size so that we can fill our gear and equipment in it. It's going to be an administrative vehicle, and our DEA guy will get another vehicle that isn't as nice as the one that we're buying for him to get to run to, I don't know, another 3 or 4 years and put up to 125,000 miles on it.
Very good. And I can understand why you're doing what you're doing, because the market is screwy and it's going to get screwier with the strike. So, any questions from the board? Ms. Voorhees?
Oh, so this vehicle will not be going to the DEA office?
It will not. So we
Oh, I didn't quite catch all that,
we
sorry.
funnel down. So we start,
Okay.
the newer vehicles go to the lieutenants and the detectives, and they get funneled down through, because the DEA agent puts a lot
Yeah.
of work on the car. So he gets a car that is, and plus it fits in better with his job to get an older vehicle, because it fits
Right.
into what he does. So he gets the older vehicles, along with the SOU detective as well. They get the older vehicles, so they fit in a little better.
And this vehicle is not going to be down into the used park, it's not going to be shifted to the used car lot that we already have down there. It's not going to be brought into, it's going to be taken out of the fleet of White Lake Township. It's not going to be hand-me-down to another department.
I would never, unless somebody wants it, I would say this car isn't worth more than a couple $1,000s.
So you're going to get rid of it?
Absolutely, we're going to sell it.
Okay, I think that's what I wanted to hear you say. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Roman?
Chief, do you need any other vehicles in the next 6 months that you can think of?
I will be coming to the board for another vehicle and within the next 6 months, an admin vehicle, yes. I foresee it coming, yes. As far, quite honestly, I'm nervous because we need patrol vehicles, and I don't know if they're going to be made, but that's a different story. As far as admin vehicles, we have another one that is coming. I'm going to try to stretch it out as long as possible. It'll be probably 6 months, maybe a year at most.
Okay, I was just going to suggest you buy early rather than wait, but that's your call.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Noble?
No,
Oh, Trustee Smith?
Thank you. So I'm going to ask my usual question. It wasn't super clear in our memo that this was an admin vehicle, so I'm not convinced that when a secretary needs is that what you mean? An administrative assistant
No,
needs?
so admin vehicles are non-patrol vehicles. So any vehicle that's doesn't have lights and sirens and the white light police on it are my admin vehicles. So Detective Sutton has the admin vehicle, SOU, and lieutenants have admin vehicles, and myself.
Plus detective cars, right?
Yes.
Okay, that.
Well, actually, the detective cars, they don't. We've had such a hard time getting them. They have old police vehicles, that's the one I'm afraid that may cause us to get another admin vehicle. Because we have
Okay.
2 of those in rotation because we couldn't find cars.
So that clarity helps because I would rather put money into patrol vehicles than money supplying a car for staff, not officers, but staff. So,
nope.
because we do have vehicles available in our maintenance log that maybe could be shifted around if it was going like for administrative staff, but if it's going for officers, then I feel differently about it.
There are only cars that we have are for sworn officers. We don't have anything besides those vehicles but for sworn officers.
Okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Powell?
Really, 2 things. I personally own 3 vehicles older and with more mileage than you're saying that this one's worthless. And so I personally have 3 vehicles older than that and with more mileage. And then it is so easy, and in government, we hear this from the federal government, state government, whatever. We say a lot of people, it's more costly. And your statement is, and it's becoming costly to fix. We tried to require some information to be given to us so that we can objectively determine whether or not it's our opinion, whether it's too costly to fix. And so there was a chart made, and there should have been a line item here that says this car we've spent $35,000 on this car repairing it over the last 2 years. And if that were the case, then I'd say it's way too costly to fix, to continue. But you've not provided us with any data whatsoever, just it's becoming costly to fix.
I have a detailed fleet map that I provide to the Office of the Supervisor at the end of every year.
Okay, that has not been provided for this request. And so when you ask for something, I personally am asking for data to support your conclusion, and I don't have that. And so this particular line item is just saying it's costly to fix. Well, everybody thinks their car is costly to fix. And so the question is it costly to fix, and is there another vehicle that it could be shifted around to be able to use this?
Every vehicle that we have, we use. We don't have extra vehicles. We actually we have 2 less vehicles than we usually do because, again, we've shifted patrol cars to admin vehicles, which they shouldn't be used in that capacity. But we do that because of what's going on with the car market today. As far as the officers have to be able to rely on their cars, especially as DE agent. While he gets those vehicles that are older, he still has to have a vehicle that works properly and can function in the manner a police officer uses it for.
I thought the answer to Ms. Smith, Trustee Smith's question was that this is going to be an admin car.
It is.
Not because I agree with her, if this is an officer's car, then we need to make sure that they have the proper car. But if
So I can clarify that for you with experience. The DEA car, I don't agree with him. I don't think it should be the last one. That guy is doing surveillance all over the state, sometimes in the other states. So that car is constantly in the inner cities, all over. So I think that car should be paramount above being handed down. Then I'm going to say it wrong, the SOU. that's another surveillance car. So they're all police officers that are using those cars. And surveillance is very, you don't want a car that you get down there, it's got 130 miles and it's running. And sometimes you're catching up the bad guys at 90 miles an hour when somebody gets burned on surveillance from experience. So they are driven harder than any of the cars that we have. It's a fact.
So my question to the supervisor then is there a document that you can share with us that says it is becoming costly to fix? What is that definition?
There's a maintenance chart. I would have to procure it.
What does that mean, costly to fix?
Well, there's not just costly, unreliable. When they get up to a certain mileage, Mike, these things.
And that's why I started saying I have 3 cars that
that you don't drive like they do.
Mike, I had a car.
Not even close.
I had a car at DEA that had 125,000 miles, and I brought it back, and we were, surveilling a guy from Detroit, from Toledo and back, and the front end almost came off because they're just wear and tear on them.
And I understand that.
So it's a safety to me. It's kind of like a fire truck. People look at a fire truck and they think it's beautiful, but a fire truck, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, they rust from just sitting around from the bottom out, and you have a lot of problems.
Guys, I'm aware of all that. I'm just saying that this could have been represented saying we've spent this much money repairing this car, and these are the reasons why we're going to get rid of this car. Not that it's ready for the crusher. All right? And so
I think
Can I explain something else? We usually rotate these cars every 5 years. They get rotated because they become unreliable. I guess I shouldn't use it's costly to fix because it's the reliability that I need, that the officers need. Because we can't have a car that's doing surveillance that something goes wrong and they can't do their job because of a vehicle that's not trustworthy.
obviously not.
So I apologize for you that wordage. It's the reliability factor that I'm concerned with. And this car is coming up on 4 years overdue.
Okay, the last time you were in here for a car, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did represent the fact that you needed new cars for your fleet and it was within budgeted funds.
Yes.
Is this car one of the ones that you had budgeted for replacement this year?
Those were, so yes, but those cars were patrol cars that are driven by uniformed police officers.
But then we sold those cars instead of passing it down to a person that doesn't chase people every day.
I have two of those cars that the Detective Bureau is using right now that shouldn't be using. They should have administration vehicles like these.
Okay.
When you call it an admin vehicle, you just mean it doesn't have the gear inside.
Correct. It's not a patrol
It's
vehicle.
not going to be used by an admin person. It technically can't be used by, okay.
Okay.
These are all cars for sworn police officers. They just some wear
Our
uniforms.
memo doesn't say that, so.
What's that?
Our memo just doesn't clarify that, so I think we all assumed that it meant like administrative staff.
I mean, to be fair with them, you're saying admin, so they're thinking civilian employees are
Right.
going out and right.
They're thinking it's your bookkeeper that's going to use it.
I guess what they're looking, a little clarification that these are for sworn police officers.
They've been called admin vehicles since I've been here.
I apologize.
Since 1998, and I'm sure before that, that's just what I've used because that's the way they've been called because of the familiarity of the term. I've never ever called it anything but an admin vehicle when I come up here and ask for a purchase.
And it's from budgeted funds then?
Absolutely.
So I guess back to a question, if we're going to have that problem down the road, wouldn't it be better to ask for 2 cars to get ahead of the game?
Yes, it would be.
Is it going to affect your budget? Because if we're going to have that big of a hard time to grab 2 cars.
The budget, it will affect it a little bit, but it'll affect it in the positive next year because I won't have to purchase that vehicle because it's in next year's
So it's
budget.
probably better to do it up front now and look for them while we can because of the strike and everything that's going on.
Honestly, yes.
Okay. That answers your question, Treasurer Roman.
Nope.
So the only other concern I have when I read this, and thank you for, I got it the first time I asked you about the admin. I understood that it was for officers, but
Yep.
my other concern that I forgot to mention is this does forgo our bidding process. You're asking just to buy it without presenting us with bids.
Correct.
So you would, I mean,
I'm gonna
and
present
the
those-
reason was that you didn't have enough time for monthly incentives. You do have 11 days. I mean, I've purchased a car way faster than that. So if you had presented us with bids, we would have been able to approve them tonight, and you still would have been able to go purchase before the first of the month.
These documents are due on the first Friday of every month, right? Or if I'm correct, it's due towards the end of the month.
For you to turn in your board packet?
To the board packet. So I have to turn the board packet at a certain time.
Right.
So I have time constraints. Like I said, the 5th or whatever is the date that the incentives flip. And I don't want to bring you something that's not correct. Because if I
No, I
do,
understand
then I would
that
have to come in
part,
front of
but-
you again.
To me, when I look at it, if you presented us bids in this, could have approved them tonight, and you could have gone and purchased first thing tomorrow morning.
But the bids I would have presented you would have been incorrect because the incentives that were there would have been gone because I would have turned this in prior to the board packet, which is due at the beginning of the month.
I don't think our board packets are due that early, but.
It's a catch-22.
It really is.
Part of the problem is you can't always get what's available when you want it. You have to, right now, you have to get it when you can.
Like the board
Okay.
packet was due the 8th.
So
this
we've
month.
approved other items. I came to the township board and did the sign that way. I went to everybody, said, look, these are some of the ranges on the sign. The stuff is changing rapidly. This is the budget that I want to have for the sign. You guys approved it. This is the same kind of a thing. We're giving him a budget. He may bring that vehicle in for less than that amount, but that's his budget. And I don't think that's an unrealistic budget myself. So, I would propose that you get 2 vehicles right now because of what is happening and what's going to continue to happen. And it will allow you, and if your budget will maintain it and sustain it, because I know, and there was several cars that went out, and the 3rd car went over to code enforcement. So it stayed in the township, and that thing's a bucket of bolts. I'm going to take you to lunch tomorrow on it, okay? Or Friday, okay?
Okay.
So I can hear Hudson coming before I see him. I told Sean that the
Authorize a
other day.
muffler. Come on, Supervisor.
No, that's not what it is. It's the wheel bearings going bad, okay? So I would support 2 vehicles, Chief. I just think you need to get ahead of the curve here.
Okay.
And budget them at $35,000 apiece.
70.
And just to be clear, they're going to be 2 admin vehicles?
There'll be 2 non-patrol vehicles, yes.
Patrol, better term.
Yeah,
I'm
use non-patrol
getting
from
forever
now on.
changed to non-patrol
Use
vehicles.
non-patrol from now on, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 2 non-patrol vehicles, not admin, and not to exceed $70,000 for 2, 35 and 35.
I'll support that. A motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Carry on. Thanks, Chief. Resolution 23-034, approving interlocal agreement with Olton County for participation in the Olton County Incident Management Team, who we all came to get intimately involved with, or many of us did, when the tornado came through here. So, and Mr. O'Neill has experience now because he's kind of one of their team members, and that was prompted by the tornado. So this is an operating agreement that we do with them annually, pretty much. Every year, every couple of years.
I think it just stands until they update it.
Yeah, it stands to be updated.
The memo of understanding.
So, letter of understanding, so they more or less tell us what they're going to do and how they're going to operate. And I've learned one thing about the county, they tell you what you're going to do and how they're going to operate. So, right, Mr. Powell?
Absolutely. I just wonder if he got his own radio and everything.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, shucks.
I went to radio training last week, and they're $6,000 each, and I said, so I'm guessing everyone's not going to get one. And I got to tell you, I wouldn't have any idea how to use this thing anyway. I don't
Your
know
kids
how
would,
these
though.
guys,
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. I'd have to
right.
ask my 13-year-old.
Isn't that crazy? A radio, $6,000. That's,
Incredible.
the equipment
It's a
has just
pretty-
gotten out of control.
Pretty impressive technology. These guys know all about it. I was kind of getting my intro to it, but it was pretty impressive.
So it is Resolution 23034, the resolution approving interlocal agreement with Oakland County for participation in the Oakland County Incident Management Team. I'm making that in the form of a motion, looking for support. Support. I have motion support by Mr. Roman. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? No opposed. Resolution 22-022, approving capital improvement plan 2024-2029. Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you. Ms. Voorhees, excuse me, I can go to the podium if you'd like me to,
No.
but I wasn't.
Wait a minute.
Right, I know Dan.
Yeah, please do. And we'd like you to go to the podium.
Dan, he needs
would
the
like you to go to the
exercise.
podium.
I've got some documents to
Dan's
scroll
just a
through here.
quieter speaker, and he's hard to, sorry, Dan.
He is. He's very passive. What you have before you is the annual update of our 6-year rolling capital improvement plan. This is the 2024 to 2029 cycle. If you don't know in the audience, for those of you who are still here, the state requires every municipality, every township with a water or sewer system. If we own or operate a water or sewer system, then we must adopt an annual CIP, capital improvement plan, and we do both. So this is just kind of complying with that regulation, and I think it's important for many reasons, not the least of which this is a helpful budgeting tool for the township board, and it's a, bless you, it's a document that allows us to share with our residents all of the things that we have on our radar for capital investment over the next 6-year period. So it's a transparency tool. This township has been steadfast in meeting the requirement of the state since 2009 when we adopted our first CIP, and we've done it every year since. So this is, again, just an annual update. I will say, just for the record, capital improvement project examples would be a new fire truck, a new public safety building, a new township hall, big ticket items that rise to the level of $50,000 and above. That's the threshold that this township decided to set for itself. Some have higher thresholds, several have a lower threshold. Office equipment, new copy machines, recarpeting, this room would not be a capital improvement project. So it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of information that's in the document. Quite a bit of work goes into it. I want to thank the entire staff, all the department heads who participate every year, and in particular Justin in our office, who did the vast majority of all of this on his own. We've been doing it internally for a number of years, and that's been a great savings to the township, and I'm proud to be a part of that process, though I need to acknowledge all of his hard work, because it really was his. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, a public hearing was held at the Planning Commission on September 7th, and this is ready for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a lot of work to put together. Thank you.
Okay. Well, this has come before the board quite frequently, and it is what I call the proverbial wish list. And I do recall a few times some of the residents getting a hold of it, looking at it and going, "You're going to spend what?" And then we have to bring them down to earth and tell them, no, this is just, you have to have a roadmap. And that's all this is just a roadmap. It's proper planning. And another one of those tools that when we go after grants, that oftentimes is required. So it is a process. Any questions or comments from the board on this one?
No, I just think that's really important to point that out for the public, because we often get feedback of the master plan or CIP that we're absolutely doing it. And both of them are just tools. And as Supervisor mentioned, they're really helpful for grant money. So thanks for mentioning that, because I was going to mention that as well.
Oftentimes
for the
required.
public. Right.
For grant money. So, anyway,
And they're available to our residents on our website.
care to make a motion?
Sure, I'd make a motion to approve capital improvement plan 2024 through 2029, resolution 23-022.
I have a motion. Looking for
Support.
support? I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Could I
you.
ask why we have 1985 on our emblem? What is that?
That's when we
Some
Soon became a charter township.
Oh, the charter township, okay. Because I know we've been around longer than that.
Next item, Resolution 23035, approving a listing and sale of Gale Island properties. As you know, many moons ago, I'm trying to remember what year that was, actually, that we first got that dangerous buildings and did all that out there in Gale Island. 2017 or something? 18?
I don't recall. It's been a number of years.
Nonetheless, as the board knows, we have acquired that property, and also there has been a process of which we went through to recover that property through the tax sale. And Mr. Powell and myself sat down and analyzed the parcels and came to this board a while back for the proposed reconfiguring of the property. that has been done. We have legals. We're in the process right now of getting a market analysis done to see what the properties are worth. We don't have specific numbers yet, but we're looking for permission to list, market, and sell, and allow the three House officials inside to negotiate so that we can expedite and report to the board and execute any documents of sale when it comes forward. And as soon as we have the marketing study done, we'll obviously give everybody a copy of that. So we're just trying to make sure that there's watchdogs, but expedite the process and just kind of move it along.
Who's doing the marketing study?
We have Steve Stockton currently.
Let's do the last project.
So I think we'll have a better idea in the next week or two as to where we're going to actually be. And once we have that information, we'll put that out there and what our marketing strategy is going to be. But because it's real property of the township, we need to come before the board to get permission to sell.
So he's going to list each property?
We're not sure yet. We're still, you're allowing us to decide who we're going to have listed and move forward with it.
Oh, you don't want the board to help decide?
You're making that decision right now, okay?
Huh. Okay.
Any questions or
So
comments?
if we don't approve this, then we can make a motion for board to decide how the parcels are handled?
I can, it'll just delay the process.
Well, why don't you mention,
what is the time?
we already had him in to look at all these properties, and he has done some preliminary work on them.
Okay.
Okay, and it was his thought that we'll get more money for them if we actually list them. However, if we go ahead and use him, he knows there's an exclusive list of people that we think might already buy those properties, and he has to be willing to take a lower commission if indeed those people do. But we don't have any final numbers from him yet, but I know he's working with other realtors and appraisers. He's getting with other appraisers looking at these because they're really difficult to comp out. Where are you going to find comparable, lots? So I can tell you guys this, if we do decide to use him, he did us a big favor on the Hurondale lot. He got us a lot more money than we ever thought we'd get out of it. So he's been a big help to the township, and the guy puts the time in. He came out here and spent what?
A couple hours.
Probably a couple hours.
Couple hours,
And
then we had multiple phone conversations
yeah,
with
I
him.
mean, he's
so-
thorough, so.
Yeah, very thorough.
I've used him to list property in the past, and he did a great job for me. But it seems like my perception of it would be that it would have to be listed, and then he would have to conduct the offers and the counter offers.
Well, he would.
That's
what he would do.
That's what we're leaning towards.
Yeah.
You can't just sell it to whoever.
Yeah.
that's
No,
open,
it has to be,
you know.
it has
Gotta
to
be
be.
listed.
Yeah, it has to be listed. So there was
It has to be available for everybody, not an exclusive list.
yeah, there is no
No, it won't be. It
exclusive.
will
I mean,
be on the
if you guys
multi-list.
want to make a motion just to use him through the three of us, I'm fine with that too.
I'm comfortable
It
with
would be on
using
the
him.
it'd be
Yeah.
on the multi-list,
That's
so
fine.
anybody could bid on
Yeah,
it.
Scott, why don't you
I don't
make
know
a
if there's
motion?
anybody that would do a better job than.
No, I don't think so.
him.
Yeah, so.
Could I ask, just, has he given any guidance at all as to the marketability of buildable sites? These are actually prime lakefront lots with sanitary sewer. The market is not necessarily the best for building sites right now because the building costs are high and the mortgage rates are high. And I didn't know if he thought it might be better to hold off for 3-6 months to a year.
Again, this is part of the strategy. We want to get it going. We want to have it out, make these decisions as we go along, report back to the board what steps have been taken, and this will cover it. So what if we listed it next week and we sold one lot?
Yeah.
And then now the rest of them are sitting there and we don't sell a lot till April. Okay, another lot. Well, this is all covered in this and we just have communication with the board to allow to know what's going on.
So you will,
There are people that want those lots now. I can tell you that.
Well, for 10 grand, I'd buy each one of them too. So the question is, can you bring it back to the board then to let us know what the market value that's been appraised?
Yeah, we're going to give you that information.
Okay.
That's,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
that's part of this. It's just, we're not at that point yet. We just want to
Understand.
get things moving along so that when we sit to the table and sit there and say, hey, we want to list it, I don't want to have to wait another month to bring it back to the board.
Understand, thank you.
So that was really the purpose of this. And to have the three in-house oversee it versus just myself, okay?
We did tell him how much we have into these lots, because the township has a lot of money into these lots from all the demo
Yeah.
and the back taxes. And he's confident that we can get more than what we spent.
So
If that gives you any idea, now specifically, he's still working on it.
Okay.
But
And we felt that it was in our best interest to try to recover, our thoughts originally were to just recover what we can of what the expenditure was, but it appears as though we may be in better shape, which is just
awesome,
which is great. So that's just the action that we were seeking to move forward with. So I'm looking for a motion.
Scott Ruggles, we need a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Ruggles.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what that motion would look like.
Pass resolution 23035.
So if we pass the resolution, we're going to add in there that we're going to approve Steve Stockton to be the listing agent.
I would support that if you make
Yeah,
that
I would
motion.
support that, yeah.
Okay.
Can I suggest something, though? This has authorizing marketing and sale. So if we approve this, the three in-house officials could sell it and not have to bring it back to the board.
Now, if you put a
Exactly.
stipulation on it,
We
put a stipulation on it.
want to sell it. We want to sell it as
But
quickly
the
as we
idea is
can.
for you to bring it back to the board
I agree with that.
for authorization.
I agree with
to
that.
sell it.
I think
No, this is the authorization to sell. We would just report.
Shouldn't the
We're not
board
running
approve
off
the
to
sale?
the.
No, he's saying for the board to approve the sale.
Shouldn't the board approve the
Accepting
sale?
offer.
That's the way I see it.
No?
Yes.
You're just going to slow the
No,
process
we don't
down.
want to have to come back.
We don't
to
wanna
do
have to
another
come back. It doesn't
resolution
make
for each
sense.
lot. We want to approve that with this resolution, so we
I-
can,
Here,
we basically can hand it off to him and
let him
go.
run with it, yeah. Then we would report you the status as to what's going on, okay?
After it's been sold.
No,
No, prior.
prior to. But that's the thing, once he has his marketing plan in place, okay, we'll know what the township should expect. If he brings an offer in, we will report that offer to the board, so the board knows about it. But will allow us to execute that sale without having to come back to the board again. You could have someone, very much like that other parcel, that guy wanted it and he wanted it now, okay?
But we have special meetings all the time.
Pardon?
We have special meetings all the time.
Not only that,
We
they have
do
due
and we
diligence they're gonna do. You're telling us that a 30-day delay or a 2-week delay to inform this board is gonna shoot down a
No
sale?
one's not informing you. This is what you're going to know when all this is going on. This is what I'm trying to tell
But
you.
you have the ability to sell it and not even come back to the board. This document allows you to sell it and say, oh, by the way, we sold them each for 20 grand.
That's not gonna happen, Mike, and you know that.
But this gives you that
Mike,
authority,
Mike,
doesn't it?
Mike.
Mr. Supervisor?
Mike.
But we have the authority to amend this resolution.
Yes.
So
Amend the resolution then.
Yeah.
Amend it.
Go ahead, Mr. Powell.
I move the resolution, approval of the resolution 23-035 and granting the supervisor and clerk to be able to sign the marketing documents
You missed me. I think, wasn't I in there too?
and treasurer
Thank you.
to sign the marketing documents for the sale of the vacant parcels on Gale Island, and that any offer to purchase the property be brought back to this board for approval.
support.
Is there,
Oh, and allow for Steve, whatever his name is. Stockton to be the marketing agent.
Amend my support.
Motion, support, roll call vote.
question or
Comment.
discussion?
Discussion.
Has there ever been, a piece of property that's been sold in this township that the township board hasn't approved, where we've just given the authority to the supervisor?
The law requires this board to approve the sale of property, public
That's why
property.
you're doing this document.
And that's what our motion
Well, with
just
his-
is gonna
with his
approve.
motion, before we can tell Mr. Stockton, yes, we have to come back to the board now. For
Yeah.
each piece.
Yeah, for each piece.
I don't think it's gonna slow it down that much. I can tell, you're that concerned with the speed or the timing.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah?
Lack of trust.
I mean, there's got to be 3 signatures on it.
Total lack of trust. Can't believe it.
I don't think that's what I'm trying to convey to you.
No.
That's exactly what's being
No,
conveyed.
but you can't negate that we're 7. The board is
It
7.
doesn't
The board is
matter.
not 3.
I'm telling you
And we're
what the
7
intent
for a
of this
reason.
resolution is. That's it, done.
Oh, 5
We have
special
motion,
board meetings.
support, roll call vote.
Trustees Ruggles,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Powell,
Yes.
supervisor Cowell,
No.
clerk Noble, no, treasurer Roman,
Yes.
and trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
We'll
Okay,
just have to come back to the board.
moving on. Request to approve agreement for election services between Oakland County and Charter Township of Highland and Charter Township of White Lake.
Supervisor Cowell, before you is an agreement through Oakland County because of the Constitution Amendment created by Proposal 2. We're going to have 9 days in-person voting. And Joe Roselle with Oakland County Elections put this together, this agreement before you, their elections office. Basically, we will be using one site for 9 days in-person voting, and we'll be teaming up with Highland. For example, Waterford would be teaming up with Independence. Wild Lake would be teaming up with Commerce, and Wixom, I believe, with Commerce, to give you some examples. We did have our election committee meeting prior to the meeting today, and I would like to request that there also is, as you see in the packet, there's a regional site. So that will be held near the 1200 building for anybody that passes through. Like, for instance, if somebody was heading that way and wanted to vote, they could vote at that site. But you have to be a participant to vote in the regional center. And there's only 2 communities within Oakland County that's not taking advantage of this. Wayne County's not doing it, Kent County, Washtenaw. So this is the first year of this. We still don't have in stone what's ahead of us. There's a few things that we worked out with Proposal 2, but this is, gives us the authorization pending our attorney's office to take a look at this and review it, which I was informed by Lisa today that her office, one of the, Joellen, I believe, is reviewing it for a couple other communities that are going to be using the same document.
That's it. Any questions or comments?
More red tape.
Yep.
You're not joking. And we're also going to be using, this is, instead of purchasing tabulators and equipment, the county will be doing that. So we'll be saving, we're combining resources. And we're going to establish, I believe it's going to be $21 an hour for chair and 18 for election workers that come. So that way it's uniformly throughout the township. So if we don't have an election, or if we have one, we're able to pull those workers from those other communities, if that makes sense.
Very good. Let's make a motion.
So I make a motion to pass Resolution 2306 with the agreement for election services between Oakland County and the Charter Township of Highland and Charter Township of White Lake, pending further legal review.
We have a motion. Looking for support. Support, Mr. Ruggles? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Cedar Island Road update. Do you have anything to add to that? Anything going on? I know.
You probably talked to Lisa.
Well, I've been working on it the past week and a half since she's been out. A motion for resolution in favor of the township has been filed with the court. Basically requiring the property owner to do the work within a set amount of time, or asking the court for an order requiring the property owner to do the work within a certain amount of time. And if it's not completed, then the township can go in, do the work, and then bill the property owner, and if necessary, place it on the property taxes. It is scheduled for a motion before Judge Rowe. I believe it's in November. So there'll be some additional briefing that'll be happening over the next 6 weeks or so, and then the court will hear it and make a decision. The judge that has a case is newer to the bench, so we don't have a lot of experience with him, so I don't have any predictions on how he might rule. But we will certainly keep you guys apprised of what happens along the way.
Okay, anything else? That's it, Mr.?
I was just going to add that Mr. Hudson has tried to access a property on multiple occasions after the owner gave him verbal permission to do so, but it's been locked and he's been unable to do so. But based on what he can see from the road and reports from neighboring properties, not a whole lot has changed. So what Kristen's talking about is what I guess we're just anticipating, or I should say looking forward to, which is an order that will allow us to go and kind of mitigate that mess.
Okay, very good.
Bummer.
Mr. Roman, anything you want to talk about Civic Center Committee update, other than we had one tonight?
I don't really have anything to add.
I do. I want to thank this board. It was a really great meeting. We needed input. And please, if you think of anything over the next few days or week, get back to any one of us and so that we can continue the pressing forward.
Okay, anybody else?
Pictures are great.
Yeah.
You know, if you got photos.
I would also like to thank the board and everybody that sat in that 7.5-hour meeting.
Yeah.
It was a long day and a lot of information. Thanks for Sean for organizing that and taking charge with that. And I'd like to thank Nick too for adding some perspective after hearing from the other board members about the looks of the building. I think it takes a team of us to kind of weed through that. We got the inside put together, and now it's just, finally kind of bringing it together with the outside. So look forward to seeing that.
Well, Elizabeth Lake Road is slowly moving along. The changes that were done on the site plan of our driveway relocation generated some changes in geometry on the road, and that's been in the works, and hopefully will be finally submitted to the county, resubmitted to the county within a week or so. And then hopefully this will be the last leg, and we'll get our permit within the next, I don't know when, because I wish I could tell you. And then we'll hopefully be ready to put bid documents together and see the road come to fruition next spring. So, all right, I'm going to move on to trustee comments. Trustee Smith.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I just want to mention that the Friends of the Library had another very successful book sale. So I want to thank all the residents and library staff and Friends of the Library that supported that event. Also, Fisk Farm Festival was very successful. I know most of us had a chance to attend it and support that event as well. And then I spent a lot of time with our fire department this month, and I'm so incredibly proud of our firefighters. They're just all outstanding. Trustee Voorhees and I had a chance to welcome the Walk for Red into White Lake. The firemen that walk 140 miles to support White Lake, or to support firefighters that have cancer, and cancer is the #1 leading cause for hazardous health issues in firefighters, as we talked about earlier today. So we had a chance to welcome them. They come every year through White Lake. You're welcome to encourage them on the side of the road or clap for them, cheer for them. I'm sure you saw him perhaps walking down 59. He walks in full gear, and he collects some supporters along the way. He goes through each township on his way across the state. He spent the night in White Lake, which he does every year. It's a 5th annual event. And then I so enjoyed joining him the next morning with several of our firefighters, and we walked down 59 and transferred him to Highland Township. It was incredible to see the support that our community showed and that our department showed him, and the hospitality that he was given. Then they also had an incredible fire department open house. I just want to tell you that they have set the new bar. It was really, really great, and it was a huge turnout. It was so much fun for all ages, but it was one of the best events that we've had this year. So thank you so much for putting that on, and I want to thank our community that supported that event as well. And then for our police department, I just want to mention that we had bypassed, which is not something that we support a lot, but I kind of wanted to draw some attention to it, It was National Police Women's Day, and I want to congratulate our department for having so many women for the size of the department that we have here in the township. We have 4 police officers, 1 just retired of 22 years service, 3 officers, 1 detective out of is the 4. And then I believe we have 2 women coming, or 1 woman is coming. She's in the academy right now, right? So I think that's incredible for the size of the department we have, and I think it's a huge asset to our community to offer a woman police officer and their perspective. And then lastly, I just want to thank Sean O'Neill. Him and I have also spent a lot of time together this month trying to talk about the Civic Center project, and I just want to thank you for your time spent in crafting some emails with me and sharing ideas and staying on top of it and giving back excellent follow through. So thank you.
Trustee Voorhees.
Thank you. I'm along with Liz, was also at the Fisk Farm. I just want to thank my fellow elected officials, my Daughters of American Revolution friends that were able to help Bob and I, and then the residents of White Lake, not only for coming out, but for helping us cook hot dogs and support them, and Leo's for supplying the food. Yeah, absolutely. The fire department was very successful and shined for White Lake Township the month of September. So thank you, John and Ashley, and the rest of the gentlemen that were there. And last but not least, I would like to be out of here soon because today is my mom's 88th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
And thank you. And she said I could come by as long as it was before 9:30. She gave me a timeline, so I want to leave. So I want to get out of here.
Mr.
And I'm
Ruggles.
done.
I thought I saw you had dinner at 4 o'clock already with her.
No, I was here by 5. No, that was, her celebration was yesterday, believe it or not, because I couldn't accommodate today.
Mr. Ruggles.
Yeah, thank you. The Planning Commission has a meeting this Thursday. On our agenda is Carter's Plumbing. Oakland Harvesters has an extension request, and we'll be talking about the master plan update. And I'm sorry, Chief, I wasn't able to attend the fire department open house, but my wife and kids were there. And he said it was a great time and a great turnout, so I'll catch the next one. Other than that, I think that's all I got. Oh, and everybody that's been on the Civic Center committees, Mr. Powell, Supervisor, Mike Roman, Anthony, Sean O'Neill, I'm sure you guys are putting in a ton of hours, so thanks a lot.
I thought you were going to say we're getting free donuts for life. Okay, especially him. So, Mr. Powell,
Thank you, Mr.
speaking of donuts.
Yeah, speaking of donuts, I still have a bag here that I'll be glad to share with anybody.
You lost a couple, I'll pass them out.
I would very much like to give kudos to the White Lake Township staff, every department. I'll tell you what, I practice in an awful lot of communities in southeast Michigan, and I would put our staff in all the departments, police, fire, planning, up against any department I work with. And you guys are just first rate all the way around, and our residents should support you. If they don't, then they need to come and talk to me, because I'll give them some places to go and compare. I wanted to thank Justin and Sean and Nick to some extent of all the work they do behind the scenes. The development of this community is a full-time job, and if you ask Sean, it's way more than a full-time job. He, Justin, and Nick work overtime, work weekends, and they just have the best interest of White Lake Township at heart, as well as our police, fire, and our other staff. That being said, the Zoning Board of Appeals meets next week, and I don't remember how many items we have on the agenda, but we haven't had a marathon meeting in a few months, so so far, I believe this township has a great future ahead. So thank you.
Very good. Mr. Roman.
John, super job on the open house. What a success. Also want to thank Ruggles Ranch for making 150 kids happy going home with pumpkins.
Is that a shameless plug?
Yeah, so thanks for donating pumpkins, Scott. Also, congrats to your 2 new firefighters. You guys, welcome to White Lake. Want to thank the residents for attending, as always. And a special get well soon, this time to our attorney, Lisa Hamami.
Yes.
Who has had some surgery. So Lisa, get well soon and we miss you.
Yes.
Mr. Noble.
Just let everybody know today's National Voter Registration Day, so if you need to register, contact your clerk's office and we'll take care of you. I'd also like to thank the chief for a successful fire open house. It was, you had the foam machine out this year, it was a big hit. Those who, Bob, where are you, Bob? Did a great job grilling. And then I'd just like to thank the board, like I said, put in a lot of hours, everybody here and those that are not able to attend. It's a lot of hours putting in for the Civic Center and trying to, be financially prudent when it comes to spending the taxpayers' dollars, so. And one thing and I'd like to thank Scott for the donuts and the cider.
Oh, yeah, are they good?
Yeah. And I also would like to, this isn't Lisa, but thank Kristen for coming. She's been very helpful in Lisa's absence, so thank you. That's it.
That's it? Okay. All right, well, I certainly appreciate everyone here on the board for doing what they think is right and being here to go through the different items that we constantly come up with. And we're moving forward with the Civic Center, which is great. Fire open house was great. I love that foam machine. That was the coolest thing in the world. Watching those little minions come running out of the foam, because it was like 4 feet deep, okay? So it was a good time had by all. And this community takes a lot of what we offer in the day-to-day living here. It's a great place to live. It's a safe place to live. And they give us back by supporting our organizations and showing up at the different events that we had. And I really want to thank everyone that showed up there and did everything. It was very, very nice. I was a little worried about the weather in the morning and didn't know which way the wind was literally going to blow, but it worked out well. But I also want to report on something that we did last month. We had an event for the White Lake Police Foundation on Skull Island, and we used that money for a lot of different things for the kids in our community, and the list just goes on and on and on. And through the generosity of Catherine and Mike Chipman on Skull Island, that event and my parking lot cohort over here and I, along with his son Brody, we raised over $12,000. And that was outstanding, yes, absolutely. So I'm glad to say that's going to help us out with additional programs and for the youth and in our community. That extends from our, whether it's the Explorer program, our cadet program, the Citizens Academy, the Youth Academy, any of the programs that we have that get the folks to come out and get to know who we are here in this community, and that's what's really important. So I'd like to thank them again for that. So for all of you, I wish everyone out there a very safe and happy and healthy evening and week and month and the rest of the year. And Lisa, get better. Well, not that we don't like you, but we'll see your smiling face soon, I hope. And Mom, happy birthday, big 88. It's a way to go. So then I say good night, God bless. Motion to adjourn.
Aye. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:57.